All right, welcome to the Roundtable on Teaching, sponsored by the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders and the Department of Education's Teach campaign. My name is Eddie Lee. I'm the Youth Outreach Coordinator for the White House Initiative. And I want to begin by thanking all of you guys for coming here today and for Granada Hills Charter High School for hosting this event. The reason why we're holding this roundtable and we're having this panel discussion is because we need to think about teaching in a different way. And there are two reasons why. The first is because we need a new generation of teachers to join those already in the classroom. President Obama, in a State of the Union address, says, quote, "To every young person listening tonight who's contemplating their career choice, if you want to make a difference in the life of our nation, if you want to make a difference in the life of a child, become a teacher. Your country needs you." Secondly, in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, we need to raise the level of discourse around teaching. It's unfortunate that we champion law and medicine as traditional occupations, but we've lost in this discourse the power of teaching to transform the lives of this next generation. Of the 3 million teachers that are teaching today, 1%, about 1%, are Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And too often we forget that every revolutionary, every singer, every songwriter, every filmmaker or actor or scholar has had a teacher or a mentor in their life who has made them and shaped them into the person that they are today. So with that, I want to turn it over to our panelists and introduce them to you all. They know personally what kind of power a teacher has had. For the reason why they're here today is because of the impact that they have made in their lives. Our first panelist on your left is Clara Chung. She's a singer-songwriter. You may know her from her music on youtube.com/Clara C Music. She's won prestigious competitions such as Collaboration 10, ISA 09, and the Media Creative Juice Night. But more importantly, she is a teacher. She teaches autistic kids, and she is committed to becoming a teacher after her music career. And so we're very excited to have her here with us today. Please give her a round of applause. Yeah, there you go. And she's also an alumni of this school, Granada Hills. Go Highlanders. There you go. Next up is Taryn, Benarroch, who directs the Teach initiative, which is an initiative to recruit more teachers into the classroom. She was also a former teacher at Lighthouse Charter School in the Bronx, New York, where she taught special education kids. Please give her a round of applause. The next person needs very little to no introduction at all. It's David Choi. In 2008, he released his first self-album called Only You, and in 2010, he released another album called By My Side. His YouTube channel has 620,000 subscribers and more than 84 million views. I'll just let that sink in for a second. 84 million views. And there is no question that he is a role model. He's an icon in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. But more importantly, he is a mentor and a teacher through the videos that he puts out there. And so we're very excited to have him today. And finally, Sefa Aina, who is a member of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islander. He is actually the biggest rock star of the night, right? And so he's a director of the Asian American Resource Center and an associate dean of students at Pomona College in Claremont, California. He's a founding member of Pacific Islander Education and Retention, which tutors and mentors Pacific Islander youth in Carson, Long Beach, and Inglewood, California. Please give a round of applause. All right. Before I turn it over to Sefa to help moderate this event, let me also welcome our online audience. For those of you who are watching online, we very much welcome your participation. You'll see a little chat bar right here on the left, and you could definitely leave your comments and questions there. But also, we'd like you to send us Twitter tweets, and you could do so by using the hashtag AAPI-Teach. That's the # AAPI Teach. If you do not have a Twitter account or know how to tweet, we very much invite you to the 21st century and ask you to welcome us. And so I'm just kidding. We could also send me an email at eddie.lee@ed.gov where you can, and we'll be able to moderate those questions. And we'll be able to ask as many of those as possible during the Q&A section. And so with that, let me turn it over to Sefa Aina, who's going to help moderate this event. Sefa?
Thank you. Thanks, Eddie. Everybody give Eddie a round of applause.
Yeah.
And And I also want to join Eddie in thanking Granada Hills High School for allowing us the space and the time, and especially the beautiful young students in the audience to help this day seem really, really special. What we're going to do is we're going to open up with some simple statements. We want you guys came to see some of our panelists, maybe not me, but some of the other folks on the panel, and so we're gonna let them have some time to maybe make an opening statement about why they're here today, or why they chose to lend their time with us today. So Clara, do you want to begin?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me? Yes? So for those of you who don't know, before I started music, or before even the music opportunity came along, I was set on becoming a teacher. And now I'm like juggling both, which is really hard, but I'm managing. I teach autistic kids part-time, and then I do, on the weekend, I go and try to be a rock star, So I think it's really important to be a teacher. I love my job. I love what I'm doing, regardless of all the myths that surround teaching. So I'm hoping that, I can make you guys more comfortable with the fact that being a teacher is pretty dang awesome. Yeah.
I am not a rock star, I'll tell you that. But I'm here because I taught special education in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, and before I started teaching, I really had this sort of vague idea that I wanted to help people, and I thought it was kind of a good idea, and there are a lot of ways to do it. And once I started teaching, I realized there could be no greater impact on community than what happens inside of school. And once I started teaching, I also realized it's really fun, which is, I think, something that we were talking about before that sort of gets lost, is that teaching is hard and intellectually challenging, but also a really, really fun job. So the only reason I stopped teaching is I ended up going to work for the president, and I want to go back into the classroom. So we should talk about that, and I want to answer all of your questions and get your perspectives. I know that a bunch of you had said you wanted to be teachers, and I'd love to hear about why that is and talk more about that as well.
Whoa, that's loud. I was getting ready to talk real soft. Yeah, I'm here to actually speak to you guys about education. It's really important to be educated in this lifetime, to become anything you want. I do music, and education is really important to me, because it's turned me into who I am today. And I go through a lot of contracts and things like that. And if I didn't have a good education, then I would probably be I don't know, be in trouble. So yeah, I'm also here to learn and hear what everyone here has to say about that topic, and also encourage all of you guys to become teachers and people who will educate and make a difference in this world.
So the first question is going to go to Clara. So Clara, you mentioned a little bit that you do teach in addition to your music career. Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to go into teaching, and then why specifically do you work with children with autism?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to teach because I like teaching. I think I was always, maybe it's because I was the oldest child in my family, so I kind of was a teacher anyway. But I think that the impact that you can have as a teacher is tremendous. Like, kids spend more time with their teachers than their parents sometimes, And I think that to be in the classroom with someone who can be a role model and not just throw a textbook in your face and be like, here, you need to memorize pages 1 through 550, but to actually let you understand why you need to know that and why you're spending K through 12 plus, like, in school, It's not so you can just get the A's and get the paper. It's so you can really learn and apply what you're learning. And I think that gets lost. And it happens, because some teachers shouldn't be teachers. And a lot of teachers need to understand that teaching is a talent in itself. And a lot of you guys have it. Like, you guys have the leadership qualities. You guys have, the way to transform something that can be just a boring fact into something that's, like, really fun. So I think all of that got lost for me in school. And I want to do whatever I can to restore it, to whether it's autistic kids, whether it's high school or college or whatever. I chose autistic kids because I felt the need to be there. I feel like the opportunity was presented to me, and it's just good that I'm there. And those kids need me right now. So that, and plus I studied psychology, so it's, like, right in my realm. Yeah, teaching, I don't regret a single thing, and I enjoy every minute of it, even though I'm getting, like, beat up by some kids, and, like, autistic kids hit, they do. We go home with, like, goose eggs and bruises and things, but I'm right where I want to be, and I really want to encourage you guys to pursue that as well.
Thanks, Clara. You know, back in the green room, is that room green? It was the room we were in. It's a white, the white room.
Yeah.
The room we were in prior to coming out. Yeah. You know, David, you said something. You said great teachers are very important. Can you talk about who your favorite teacher was, or who was a great teacher in your life, and then any particular memory you had with that teacher?
Oh, my mic is it working? Hello? Can you hear me? My favorite teacher, one that comes to mind is Mr. Roy. This was a history teacher, and what set him apart from all the other teachers that I had was his energy and his passion for being a teacher. You know, this guy was crazy. He would jump up on tables to get his point across, and he would, like, I don't know, when you got into the classroom, he would always greet each single person in the class with their own handshake that you two would make together, and he would remember it. And that kind of, like, passion really inspired me to be passionate about what I do. And, you know, I would say to myself, look, you know, there are people who do music or anything in this lifetime, and they do it because they have to, or they do it because, you know, they're told to do it, or whatever, you know. But whenever I think about that teacher, I think about the reasons why I'm doing it, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it gives me a greater sense of purpose in this world. And that was a class where I actually started songwriting in. Well, not songwriting in, but in Mr. Roy's class, this kid brought in a CD of like some techno music that he created at his house. And I heard it in his class after class was over, and that was when I thought in my head, oh, I could do this. And then I went home, and then that's when I started music. So Mr. Roy's class, you know, affected me a lot.
Definitely. Thank you. So already we were talking about that passion that he instilled, and it kind of translated through him jumping on tables.
Yeah.
We don't condone. Nobody, please don't jump on these tables. We're nice enough to get this stuff loaned to us, so please don't do that. But just having that passion to kind of translate from the classroom to your professional life, I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Taryn, Taryn's our resident expert on the panel, and part of the goal of today is to try to demystify some of the things that are out there about teachers, about how it is, what the process is to become a teacher, what kind of teacher you could become, how long it would take, what teachers make, what kind of programs are out there to support teachers, things of those sorts. And so, Taryn, could you talk a little bit about folks who want to become teachers and they're worried about maybe loans, low teaching salaries? What is the Obama administration doing to make teachers more valued?
That's a really good question, because I think anywhere I go and I talk about teachers, the first question is, teachers don't make any money, and I'm about to pay a whole lot of money to go to school, which was my particular situation, and I took out a whole lot of loans to do it. One really cool thing that has started in the Obama administration, it's called complete loan forgiveness. So if you decide to become a teacher, and you're a teacher for 10 years in the public school system, every single dime of your school loans is forgiven. And this is new. It wasn't around when I went to school, so unfortunately I'm still paying loans. But for any of you who decide to become teachers, if you're a teacher for 10 years in the public school systems, all of your loans are forgiven. And I think that one of my favorite things is saying those words, because that's a program that not a lot of people know about. And there's more information. I will push this over and over at teach.gov. If you guys go to that website, it has all that program and a whole bunch of other loan forgiveness programs. We also have another program called income-based repayment. None of my programs have super sexy names, but income-based repayment is really fun. But what it means is that you're going to get paid, and your loans will be adjusted based on how much money you make. So if you make $30,000 a year as a teacher working in the Bronx, which is what my particular situation was, you won't have to pay the same kind of school loans that someone who's an iBanker is going to have to pay. Because we think that it's not fair to punish kids because we all wanted to go into the public sector and do something good for the world. You shouldn't be punished by having to pay the same interest rates that someone who's making $150,000 a year is going to have to make. So those are just a couple of things. One of the things that the administration is also trying to do, the president's really keen on this, is making it easier to find information about teaching. And that was sort of one of the ideas behind teach.gov. In one place, you have all of the financial aid programs that we have federally. We have all of the income-based repayment programs, all of the scholarship information. So if you're someone who wants to become a teacher, one of the things that was also hard for me and that I wish I had had is I didn't know about a lot of scholarship programs, because if you've tried to look for a scholarship, it's like there's 15,000 websites and it's confusing and you're applying to 15,000 different things. And here, this is consolidated in one place, a lot of information for teachers. So if you're interested, and I know, how many of you guys were thinking about becoming teachers again? That's
nice.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Go to teach.gov, and I swear it will help you with finding scholarship programs. It has all of our teacher preparation programs. If you're interested in doing Teach for America, it has more information on that. If you're interested in doing another alternative certification, how many of you, actually, this is an interesting question. How many of you guys are interested in science or math? Science or teaching science or math? That's a much larger, there's like tentative hands. Raise it. That's amazing. So just so you know, if you're interested in teaching science or math, there is always going to be a job for you in any school district in the country. Almost any school district. And if I'm being quoted on that, pretty much every single school district.
Wow.
Teachers of science and math are the most high in demand. So if you major in science in college and you love chemistry or you love biology, there's most likely always going to be a job, and especially in urban schools where you really need awesome math and science teachers. So that's just a few things, but go to teach.gov. There's a lot more there.
Thanks, Taryn. And what Taryn is talking about are the incentives and the things that are going to make it easier for you to become a teacher, but I don't want to lose sight of the other point, which David was making.
Right.
This is about passion, right? This is about wanting to make a difference in people's lives. And what Taryn is describing is sort of how we could do that a little bit easier, right? How we could do that at a cost that's not going to really kind of take us in a direction where, we're not able to live the kind of lifestyle that we want to live or that we aspire to live, and be able to kind of convince our families and our parents that, this is something that's doable. It's something that can be supported. But again, it is about passion, right? It's about passion for the profession of teaching. It's about passion for this country and trying to educate people who come after you. How many of you guys have younger siblings? How many of you guys want them to have I almost said a bad word, a really good education? Yeah, right? I mean, it's just a natural. Some of you guys didn't raise your hand. That's messed up. But it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing for us to want to care for the next generation and to be prepared and to help to prepare them for what the world that we're gonna inherit. And so this is about passion, and I think what we're gonna do today is try to dispel some of those myths that kind of keep people away from the profession of teaching. We heard earlier that out of 3 million teachers in the U.S., only 1% are Asian American and Pacific Islander. And so we definitely want to impact that number, because when it's going to be important when a young person steps into the classroom that they see someone that they're able to identify with, right? So that's huge in terms of being able to feel comfortable, in terms of being able to succeed and things like that. All right, and so I kind of want to go back to Clara and ask her, what advice would you have for young people who are thinking about teaching?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that many of you wanted to be teachers, and I think that's so terrific. So please follow that. My whole motto for life, especially because the opportunity's been given to me and I am doing what I love and I am living out my dream, and I want everyone to experience that, like how liberating it is to be able to do what you want to do. So I really urge you not to let anything stand in the way of doing what you want to do and helping who you want to help. And don't let color stand in the way of that. Like, don't let, your parents' wishes. Like, I know we all want to make our parents happy, but if you end up doing their dream, that's not your dream, and there will be conflict there. So I really do encourage people to go after what's burning on their hearts, not someone else's. So please do become teachers. You will be responsible, and you will be molding so many people's minds. Like, you will do that, and you will leave an impression on them. And like David and I, and you and Sefa too, like we all remember our teachers, the teachers who left a mark on us. So you will do that for someone. So I just want to say, if you want to, you got to do it. Go chase it.
And you could shape the mind of the next president.
Yeah.
Or the next astronaut or the next I don't know, anybody, the rock star, or the person who invents the time machine. You could be that person.
The next David Choi.
Oh,
I really appreciate your statements, Clara. David, you know, your YouTube channel has over 84 million views. You know, in what ways do you try to be a teacher to your audience?
Well, I've been in this industry for a while, and throughout the years, I've had people pass down their knowledge to me about the industry and just even life. You know, how to live life, and you know, be thankful and things like that. I think the way so from all that information I got throughout the years, I felt like I need to pass it on to the people out there because, as they say, knowledge is power. I know you hear that all the time, and you don't really understand it until you're kind of living it and you experience it yourself. Knowledge is power. And when you know certain things, it'll keep you from sometimes being unhappy. It'll keep you from being, you know, screwed over by someone. It'll keep you from, you know, destroying your life, pretty much. So knowledge is power, and I think as long as you are educating yourself, you'll be okay.
Thanks, David. It's a very powerful statement, definitely. Knowledge is power. And going back to what Clara said, liberating yourself, education through liberation through education. It's really a powerful thing. I'm a parent of 3 young children, and you know, if my kids were doctors or lawyers, I'd be happy. But if they decided to become a teacher, I'd also be happy. My wife is a first-grade teacher, and I myself have taught in the past. I taught Asian American Studies courses at UCLA, as well as Cal State Fullerton. So I do believe in the transformative power of the classroom. I've seen it happen. I've seen leaders made and leaders' eyes open up wide and the light bulbs turn on. It's an amazing, amazing feeling to feel that you've had an impact in the life of somebody else. So definitely am really heartened by the fact that a lot of you all are willing to explore that. I want to go back to Taryn, and can you talk a little bit more about what the White House is doing and the Department of Education is doing to raise the level of teaching?
Yes. So I don't know. So I'm a first generation American. My dad is from far away. He's from Morocco, and I think that one of the things that I encountered when I told my dad I wanted to be a teacher is it was a bit of resistance. Has anyone else had that? Has anyone else's parents been like, oh, I don't want you to be a teacher? A lot of people, right? And they're like, am I allowed to ask questions? So can someone tell me why? Just anyone can shout out. What about you? I saw you. Is that you who raised their hand? Can you tell me why? Why does your mom or dad not want you to be a teacher? Money? Yeah? Yeah, so the money is an issue, right? But I know that all right, Eddie. The money's an issue, but for my dad, it was also like, well, you know, you went to this fancy school and you're going to be a teacher, because in the eyes of a lot of people, especially my dad who worked really, really hard to get here, it's like, you know, you're going to be a teacher. And I know that that's something that happens a lot. And so what we're trying to do and what the president's really set on doing is, as much as we can, raising and elevating the status of teachers. And some of that is through some kind of boring ways, like making sure that, you know, it's compensation programs, working with districts for contracts, but also making sure that teachers are in the public eye as much as possible. If you watch the State of the Union, the president talked about teachers a lot. There were like 7.5 minutes completely, not that I measured, but 7.5 minutes where the president talked about teaching and why it's important. And one of the things, what I do is I direct the campaign. It's called the Teach Campaign, focused on teach.gov. See, I said it again. But the Teach Campaign, the whole point of it, it's a marketing campaign that is designed to promote and elevate the status of teachers. So we have a bunch of famous folks who are talking about their favorite teacher and why they're their favorite teacher. We had John Legend, anyone from John Legend to the president to Oprah to Oscar de la Hoya, some random NBA stars as well. I mean, a lot of people. And the point is, we need to get this on the airwaves. We need to get this out, and every single time the president speaks, that this is a revered profession. So it's a difficult task. But another thing that we can do, and and what we hope is that really, really smart kids who's can do exactly what you said, do what you love to do, and that in itself elevates the status of teaching. When you have incredibly smart people going into the profession, that's what we want to encourage you. And so when I talk about programs like income-based repayment and all that, we just want to make it easier for you to follow your passions and, show your dad that maybe it's not going to be such a totally hard life, but also that this is something that's really deserves a lot of respect, and in fact, the most respect almost of any profession, I think.
They're going to make more money, right? I mean.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing too. That there are a ton of programs that are sprouting up around the country. DC, New York have programs where if you're a really good teacher, you get paid more. And that's something that's really kind of awesome, and it's a novel concept. It's if you're a really good teacher, in DC in the next 5 to 7 years, at age 30, you could be making up to $100,000.
Wow,
which is a lot of dollars.
That's a lot.
And so that's sort of becoming the trend a lot, and I think that's something to keep in mind as you go into teaching. And when you think about where you want to teach, those kinds of systems, school systems that have those programs are really great too.
Thanks, Taryn. And again, we talk about incentives, but the bottom line is, if you have a passion to change society and you have the passion to impact the lives of young people, then teaching is one of the ways in which you can achieve that. And we really want to underscore that besides the money, outside of the money, and as you grow up and as you have a career, not everything you do is going to have some kind of quantifiable price tag to it. Some things you're going to have to do because it's good for your sanity. It makes you feel good at night. At the end of the day, you can go home and rest. And teaching is one of those professions where you can honestly say, you know what, today I helped somebody. Today I improved the lives of young people. And so, there aren't that many things, particularly as you start to ascend this ladder and make this money. There are a lot of things that can make you unhappy. And so there's got to be this balance between your happiness and things you can't always kind of put a price tag on, and what you want to do in life. And I would say that teaching is one of those things. And so I think right now we want to open up the questions to the audience.
Online. Let me ask that question, and then we'll turn it over to you guys. If you have questions, raise your hand, and we'll have a mic going around the back. But a question coming in through our Twitter feed. Again, you could ask a question by tweeting with the hashtag AAPI Teach. Comes from Martin Lee, and the question is for Clara and David. And he wants to know. He says, "I really want to pursue becoming a musician. Who or what influenced you and kept you motivated in that process?"
You want me to take it?
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, if you want to be a musician, wait, where do I look to talk to Martin?
You can talk straight into the camera. He's watching.
Hi, Martin. If you want to be a musician, you should definitely do it. I had a band teacher who, if you guys have ever been to my live show, I by myself, not with my band, I play all the things that I know how on stage because I get bored on stage. I don't want to just be with a guitar. But the reason why I was open to that world of multiple instruments and playing not just one, not just mastering one, but a bunch, is because of this band teacher who let me try different things. So first of all, I was a loser kid back in the day. Okay, so he took me in when I had rainy days and when I'd cry and get picked on and stuff. He'd give me candy and things.
That's a good teacher.
Yeah.
All teachers should be like that.
Yeah, candy makes a kid's day in school.
Or pizza.
Yeah, unless I had a college class where the teacher would throw out candy for correct answers. That felt kind of degrading, but
it's kind of like a dog. It's like
it's like here's a treat.
Dog,
yeah. Anyway,
that's kind of what it's
anyway, Martin, hi. So that's my influence. You need to be around people. You always need to surround yourself wait, what? You need to always surround yourself with people who are gonna support you, who are gonna move you forward. Don't be with people who are putting you down or putting your dream down. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd have to say. That's what got me here. That and a sprinkle of luck. David?
Who was the most important influence in terms of getting you to where you are today in the music world? Teachers or mentors?
There were a lot, I have to say. Especially the teachers that I grew up, the creative ones, it doesn't necessarily have to be my music teachers. I was in orchestra. I played the violin, if you guys don't know. And you play too? Sweet. And besides the music teachers who are obviously, you know, creative, it was like teachers like Mr. Roy that I had that didn't tell you a certain way of thinking was wrong. He let you be creative. And I think that's something that's important in teachers, to allow your students to be creative and not telling you that you're wrong when you make a mistake. I mean, if you get an answer wrong, then okay, it's wrong. But as far as like the way you think and the way you want to express yourself, I think that's kind of what makes a passionate teacher as well. So all the teachers that I grew up that kind of created a creative space for me, I really respect them, and I think they definitely helped me become a creative person, I guess.
Let's take questions from the audience. Does anyone here have a question for the panelists? Right here. Right here.
For Taryn or Clara, what kind of classes did you guys do, or like in high school or college, to get into the special ed area? Yeah.
I took psychology classes. I think that the best preparation I had as an undergrad were my psychology classes. I was a government major, but I had the ability to take a bunch of electives, and a lot of my psychology classes were immensely helpful. Understanding kids' brains is good for any teacher.
Or anybody.
Or anybody.
I love
it later.
Exactly.
Love psychology.
But child development is fascinating, especially when you're talking about, I taught younger kids. I don't know what grade you teach.
Oh, I teach toddlers.
Toddlers,
Yeah.
right. So I taught kindergarten and first grade and third grade. And so I think the psych classes, those were the best.
Or what I can also stress, in addition to that, is internships. Like, that's how I got the job. Like, all my friends are grads and they're still looking for jobs, like now, even now. But if you have your foot in the door with an internship, not only do you gain experience, you get to tell if this is what you really want to do. Because you get the job, you're like, yay, celebrate. But then you get there and you're like, wait, this is not what I imagined. An internship will demolish all of that uncertainty. So, internships.
Intern, yeah. I interned too for music, and
Yeah,
it
in
definitely
studios
helped.
and
Yeah.
things. Uh-huh.
We've got another question from someone in the back.
Hi, my name is Ruthie, and I was wondering, after you take your 4 years of undergrad, what do you do after that? You know, your teaching credential and all that.
So, again, I'm going to say go to teach.gov, but I'll tell you briefly now. The cool thing about being a teacher is that there are a ton of ways to become a teacher. So there's not just one way. You can go through a traditional master's program, and that's a 2-year degree. Generally speaking, you get a master's in education or a master's in teaching. But there are also a ton of these alternative certification programs. So you can go right from college into the classroom. Like Teach for America is an example of that. Another example are these teaching residency programs. And literally thousands of different programs around the country. So there's really not one way to become a teacher. The traditional route is through a teacher preparation program in a school of ed, and there are also tons of other preparation programs that are not technically, they're called the alt-cert programs. But if you have an idea of where you want to teach, I highly recommend you look at the website. And I'm not just saying that, but because it gives all of the participating programs. In California alone, I can't remember the number, but there are like 50 different programs that you can take, and hundreds of certification programs. And it boils it down a little bit. And once you know what you want to teach, it makes it a little bit easier too. Does that answer your question? Okay, good.
Hi, my name's Chandler. My question's for Clara and Taryn. And what colleges did you guys go to? And did you go straight into a 4-year college, or did you transfer after a 2-year college?
This one's a doozy for me.
Yeah, I'm one of those kids where like school never worked out so traditionally for me. Like the whole like, yeah, you're gonna do this and then move here, and then it's like not like a set of stairs for me. Went to this high school and then decided I wanted to go to culinary school and be a chef for the rest of my life. I still love it. So while all of you guys, so are most of you seniors or? Okay, so we've got the whole house in here. Okay, whole family. But so while all my fellow senior classmates were filling out UC apps and things like that, I didn't fill one out. I was like already accepted to culinary school and I went. Realized it wasn't for me like within a month, which is really, really disheartening because all your friends are off like getting their acceptance letters and I'm just like, oh, I dropped out of culinary school, you know? So at that point I was like, okay, well, it's education time, back to education, let's go to college. So I went to Moore Park Community College for 2 years. got my AA, and then transferred into UCLA. And then UCLA kind of screwed me over. They dropped me before I even started attending. They accepted me and then dropped me before I even attended. Yeah, it gets real messy. Anyway, so I had less than a month to appeal, and I appealed to UC Irvine. Got in the day before school started. I drove down to Irvine. I've never been there before. I was I was bumming on my friends' couches. But everything worked out. Got my apartment, got my roommates and my classes. So I am a proud anteater. I love my school. If it weren't for UC Irvine, I wouldn't be doing music. So that's where I went. Was there a part 2 to your question, or was it just what school did I go to? Yeah, yeah. So that's doozy. Yeah.
I just want to point out a couple of things that Clara mentioned is the resiliency, right? So even going off to culinary school, David also talked about this. When you're uninhibited in your mind and you want to follow your passions, then you're going to have to, overcome whatever it is you're going to have to do. And so for you young folks, I really hope that, you're willing to just spend the time. Your journey is your journey. Wherever the next step leads you, that's where you should be. We hope that this includes at one point becoming a teacher. But I think what you're hearing today is that be passionate about what you do. We're passionate about being in the role of as an educator, being a mentor, which in a lot of ways is also a teacher. So I hope that's really coming across. Thank you, Claire.
I think that's a great point going into our next question about music and teaching.
Hi, my name's Katie. I want to help disabled kids or handicapped kids when I'm older because I don't believe that they're disabled. I believe that they just have a different ability. And I was wondering if you guys believe that music therapy helps them being musicians and all, and how you would incorporate helping them.
You know how to say something?
Music helps everybody.
Yeah.
I think. They were even like. What comes to mind is they did this study. I don't know who did it, but it's been done multiple times where they have 2 plants, and
I love this experiment.
Yeah, and one of them they played classical music, and another one they played heavy metal rock, and they gave it the same amount of water. It was the sunlight was the same. They tried to make it exactly the same, and the one that had classical music. I'm not saying heavy metal is bad.
We're not saying that.
There are definitely it helps you. That kind of music helps some people, but I'm just saying that's what music does stuff, So I think for anybody, it definitely it helps.
Yeah, we did a thing where actually my friends, they went to a hospital and just played for people, and the amount of joy it brings someone for people to just come out of their way to sing just for you. Imagine if David and I just randomly got guitars and sang just for you. There's something special about that. And I also want to piggyback off of that experiment. There's one, the power of words, and if you're going to be teachers, you're going to have to be careful with your words. There was an experiment where one set of plants were told really encouraging praises, you're a beautiful leaf, just real, not cheesy, just real, genuinely happy, positive statements. And the other one was given just curses and yelled at. This one withered. There's power in words. So I just want to piggyback off of that.
Some of you guys may think that it's oh no, that's fake. But these tests have been done multiple times.
I actually want to do it. You want to do it?
They've been. I'm down.
Let's do it.
I'm down. Yeah.
We've got a similar
we should have
question.
their music playing to each plant. We'll see which one grows healthier.
We've got a similar question.
Hi, my name's Steven, and I wanted to ask the entire panel, what opinions do you have on the decline of music education in the nation? Because personally, as a musician, that's one of the most disheartening things that I see in education today.
So I can give the sort of boring official response as I'm prone to do. But so I was a double major, and actually I was a double major in government and music. I was surprised, shocked. So you gotta get the zinger in there.
You beat both of us. We both didn't study music in college.
I studied opera, so that was what I did for a long time. Yeah, that's right. But so my point of all of that is more that it's something that's sort of dear to my personal heart, and also. We know that in public schools there are all these programs that are getting defunded, and so what I can say is, again, this is the boring official response, is as we start into our reauthorization of one of our big bills, it's a really, really important, we think, and the president thinks it's important, the Secretary of Education, that every student get a well-rounded education, that reading and math are incredibly important staples, but that social studies and sciences and music. And so we're trying to introduce a bunch of programs that are going to reintroduce music and music education programs in the country, into the schools around the country.
And you know, if it's any consolation, for me, I didn't study music. And like guitar, the instruments that I am using most were self-taught. So it doesn't require it. And it makes me sad too, because I had those kinds of exposure programs when I was younger, and I had like the boring Christmas talent shows that all parents had to like, you know, grit their teeth through. But just rest assured that there will always be music in this world, and people will be inspired to do something related to it, you know, and let's not like point our fingers at the education system and be like, oh, you're the reason why I can't like learn music. Like, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. YouTube. Yeah, we have tutorials.
I got tutorials.
Yeah.
Some.
You can get private lessons, and that's almost the best way to learn music anyway. So there are ways.
You know, I think your point is really well taken. I totally agree that, you know, that should be something that's honored in the school districts. You know, artists are our cultural ambassadors. They tell the world what American experiences are like. And these folks really talk about the Asian American experience through their artwork. And so if we're not allowed to, or have the space to kind of have that nurturing, you know, and I do agree, you can't, if you're resilient enough, then you'll find it. But, you know, in a place where we promote education, in a place where we promote building a stronger country, I think music has to definitely be part of that. So thank you for your question.
I want to ask you a question, Sefa. I think it's important for us in this discussion to have a conversation about the model minority myth. For every student that's doing well in the Asian American Pacific Islander community, there's another student that's not doing so well. And in some sub-pockets of the community, there are dropout rates that are as high as 30, 35%. Can you talk about why teachers are so important, especially for that community, and why we need to have more PI, more Hmong teachers, and so forth?
Well, how many of you guys have heard of that, the model minority myth? Well,
okay, two
people. That's good. Don't listen to that. That's all hype. Because what it does is it devalues those folks who are in the Asian American Pacific Islander community who aren't doing so well. On the one hand, though, I will admit, if you hear all your life, oh, you're good at math, and you start to internalize that, and you say, well, you know what, my self-esteem is up when I walk into this classroom, and I'm going to do well. That's fine. I think you should. I mean, I like to think I'm a good-looking person, but you know, that's not just for me to judge. It's other people judge me as well. Thank you, David. Thank you.
I like your necklace.
But when that determination, when people talk about resources, right? Resources that should go to the community, they operate on these same stereotypes. Right? And so when you look at the statistics, when you really look at the statistics, we have Asian American communities like the Hmong community. How many of you guys have heard of the Hmong people? Very few people have heard of Hmong people. Cambodians, Laotians, folks who are refugees of a really horrible experience in their lives. And that traumatic experience has kind of impacted the way they've adjusted into this country. As a Pacific Islander, we've also had similar experiences. And the reason why I bring that up is because those kinds of experiences get glossed over when you're only talking about things like the Asian American model minority myth. Not that we should, you know, people should feel ashamed for feeling empowered by it. That's one thing. I think, you know, as young kids, I think the more self-esteem you have, the better. But also understand that you have a very unique experience, and the next Asian American kid isn't going to have that same experience. You know, there's these shirts made, I won't say the vendor's name, but it says, I'm not smart, I'm not good at math. You know, because the myth is Asians are good at math, and he wants everybody to know, look, don't pigeonhole me. You know, I suck at math. I like music. You know, when you think of music, for example, one of the reasons why we're not in the mainstream is because this whole idea that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders aren't artists in that way, right? And so when you turn on the TV and things like that, you're not really seeing them push the envelope. And so these are all also results of that myth. It gives and it takes away, right? And it restricts. Ultimately, if you really looked at the statistics, especially for Southeast Asians and Pacific Islanders, trying to try to advocate for yourselves under this larger myth becomes harder to do.
Thanks, Sefa. At this time, I think it's pretty remarkable that there's a big number of people in this room that want to become teachers, and I want to open it up to you guys and have you share your experiences or why you want to become a teacher, and what are some of the challenges that lie in the way of becoming a teacher. What are some of those hurdles? So does anyone want to share? Right here.
Oh, hi, my name is Hannah. I just wanted to ask, when you were a student going to school, whichever, like middle school, or high school, or college, if there was a special quality or a trait that you looked for in a teacher that made you be really inspired in your classes?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's a hard question. I'll say for me, what inspired me, what trait in a teacher inspired me, or is that what you're asking? I would say the teacher that gave me something really, really difficult and showed me that I could do it. Because I was really good at school until I got to college, and I was like, oh, wow, this is hard. And I had an economics professor that there was just some ridiculously hard information. And it was the first time in my entire life I had looked at something, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. I have no idea how to do it. And that quality that this professor had in demystifying something that was so difficult for me, I think being able to show someone that you can get through something difficult is one of the most magical things a teacher can do.
You know, the other thing I would say is, well, two things. The first thing is I would find your Mr. Roy, because teachers like that are rare. And a lot of times they're dismissed as crazy and uncanny. But truly, as David has described it, this is somebody who just uses the classroom as a space for you to feel comfortable, to dream, and to feel safe, and those kinds of things. The next thing I would do is, for those teachers, and there's teachers everywhere that have a reputation of being tough, take those teachers and challenge yourself, because you know they're not going to bite you. At the end of the day, they're not going to hurt you that bad. I mean, you may get knocked around a little bit, but you got to challenge yourself. You got to challenge yourself, and we always have to feel comfortable rising to that challenge.
I think, as all of you guys, you know, you go to the school, you probably have your favorite teachers. Look at the way they teach you. Teach a kid the way you would want to be taught. Yeah. You know. So if you want a teacher to be like, okay, guys, 3 + 2 = 5. You know, if you want them to teach you like that, you know, you wouldn't take that in a, you know, you wouldn't take that information and be like, wow, it's interesting, it's fun. Teach them in a way it's like 3 + 2 = 5. You know, that'll be more exciting. So there's like little things you can do as a teacher, I think, to make your students pay attention more and just enjoy being in school.
Or sometimes it's as simple as like knowing that the teacher cares about you. Because so many times I'd have teachers at lunch, the bell rings and you're like, dude, Mrs. Smith hates me. Like, you know, I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like that teacher's not trying to flunk me and that teacher's trying to help me learn. And that was a little too frequent where I'd feel that way from a teacher. So.
You know, and one thing I'll say is, because, you know, all the myths, there's a little bit of truth in that. The teaching profession is severely underpaid. So a lot of people who teach because they're passionate about it. All right. So this idea of you know, walking into a classroom with someone, you know, is a little bit distant or cold. Just realize that people have a lot of talents. All these folks went to college. You know, all of them are very marketable in a lot of different ways, but there's a lot of passion that's around the school, and that's why I stay in education. It's that kind of energy, and so really take some time to understand who's teaching you, and try to really get at the fact that they are actually passionate about what they do.
I think we have a comment back here.
Oh, I was just going to tell my story about how I kind of felt I was always going to be a teacher. I've always sort of had an inkling that I would be a teacher. In 4th grade, I just always remember being able to understand people and where they're coming from, and I always make like awkward silences comfortable, and that's what a teacher's like supposed to do, make the classroom have a nice environment where everyone can sort of feel comfortable sharing their questions or whatever. And I've done tutoring and stuff like that, so I always sort of had a feeling I would end up as a teacher. So.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's awesome is that, you know, if teachers don't just have to fit into a certain mold. You have to be passionate about what you do and you love what you do. And I think the reasons why teachers are good teachers is because they love their subject matter. I think any one of us would love to have any one of these people up here as a teacher, right? Who would like to have Clara or David or Taryn? There you go. Right? And I think the reason why is because they're so passionate and they're such a great role model in the music industry. And I think for all of you, find out what you're good at, what you love doing, and become a teacher in that world. And definitely keep on pursuing that dream that you have. Yeah. Sure. From here? Okay, we're getting a lot of questions online. And so thanks for sending all those. One question coming from Ann O is, how do we incorporate Asian American and Pacific Islander culture and history into education?
You know, my personal feeling is that's so very important. Because if you read a lot of the history texts that are out there today, and you know, and a lot of it has changed over the years, I will admit. When I was taking AP history, you didn't hear about Japanese internment, but once or twice you might actually hear about that. Does anybody in here know what Japanese American internment was? That is so heartening. So during World War II, as a result of the war with Japan, the U.S. government decided to relocate all people of Japanese descent and put them in these concentration camps. A lot of people don't know that. It's really important because when you hear major events like that, you have to hear the full story. You have to hear not only how it was to succeed in Europe and places like that, but what was going on with the people, with the citizens, with the Americans that were living here. You know, for a lot of folks, Asian American communities who've been here for many, many, many years. As a Pacific Islander, we've been part of this country for over 100 years. And we're largely absent in the curriculum. And why that's important? Why that's important is because it's like talking about your parents. It's like talking about your grandparents. It's like finally seeing and resonating with somebody who kind of looks like you, who may have some of the same struggles and have to overcome some of the same things that you have, and so that you don't always have to displace yourself and say, well, you know, the founding fathers, I get it. You know, you don't want a taxation without representation. I get it. You know, you don't want to be told what to do from a tyrant from across the sea. I get it. But a lot of times people would have to displace their own feelings and their own sense of self to kind of get it. And so by having this, I feel it's really important for people to have that strong identity. I don't think it's just a matter of Asian American Pacific Islander history. It's just history. It's American history. And too long, it's gone without certain voices. You know, we have African American History Month, and so this is the month where you're supposed to really kind of take a look at the contributions of African Americans to our country. And I really would encourage you to do that. May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And again, that's usually the time when they ask you to do that as well. But we should do that every month. These textbooks need to be fuller. These experiences in the classroom need to represent everybody's experiences, not just one voice, but many voices. You know, there's that Latin saying, you know, e pluribus unum. I think I got that right. Out of many, it's one, right? Out of many. But too many times, it's just out of a few, we get one narrative. So we have to really kind of color in the lines and really kind of bring a fuller education to a lot of folks. Folks agree with that? Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Amen.
Cool? All right.
Hi, my name is Caleb. I really think that teaching is such a great opportunity for all of us. I believe that we'll need it in the future. But like right now, I have a lot of friends who really don't like learning. But whenever I see children and with their happy smiles with their teachers, I feel encouraged to become a teacher. So I have a question. I would like to know why you think teaching became such an unrespected profession.
That's a good question.
Maybe because they lost passion to teach, they lost interest in teaching, they just looked at it as a job.
Yeah. You know, there are some people who think that, so prior to the 1960s, most teachers were women. And part of the reason for that was because women didn't have a whole lot of other opportunities than becoming teachers. So there are some folks who think that that's one of the reasons that, you know, that there's been a lot of exodus in some really bright minds in teaching, is that, you know, women have left the profession en masse because now they can be CEOs. I think it's really important to understand, though, that in the profession now there are 3.3 million teachers out there who are working really, really, really hard. Teaching is really hard. Mm-hmm. And having a kid understand that and have that aha moment is really hard to get to. And I think that us being here and, you know, why it happened, I think we have a really great opportunity now. We have the president talking about it. We have a bunch of celebrities talking about it. I think moving forward, we have the opportunity to put teaching in the light that we think it belongs, which is, again, a revered profession, one that deserves all of our respect because it comes from a place of passion.
You know, to add to that, I also agree with that. It's the gendering of this profession, right? So a lot of times people say, well, women do that work, right? And so what are our values around what we see as women's work, right? We have to examine that on some level. The second part of that is we don't pay enough, right? Why aren't our teachers paid the same as our CEOs? Are they not as important? Do they not impact the lives of of as many people? And so, you know, a lot of times in this country, particularly, money means value in a lot of ways, not in just the value of the money, but in value of prestige and things like that. And that's unfortunate because the money that we place on, we give to our teachers doesn't signify how valuable they are. And so hopefully, you know, there's some changes coming that can really kind of bring some parity between, you know, the value we have of teaching and what we actually give teachers.
It's interesting that in countries like South Korea and Finland, teachers are considered nation builders, right? They're at the top of the class, and they're honored and they're respected, and people want to become teachers, and it's actually an honor to become a teacher. It's hard to become a teacher. On the other side, we see a lot of programs here in the United States where it's so easy to become a teacher that anyone's going into that field. And so we need to start thinking about how we make this profession take it to the next level. How we should pay them more, how we should respect them more, and how we should make sure that they're part of our daily discourse when we talk about occupations and what people can become, especially in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And so that's part of what the Teach campaign is doing and part of what the White House initiative is doing to make sure that conversation is elevated. We have about 10 minutes left, and before we close out, I want to cue it over to a few videos from the Teach campaign. There's two videos that we're going to show to our online audience. One is a video of Secretary Chu talking about his favorite teacher. For those of you who know, he is a Secretary of Education. And the other video is of Secretary of Energy. The other video is of Clara Chung, and she's talking about her favorite teacher. So it's about 3 minutes, so you can watch that now. It's a quick commercial break for you guys.
I got the popcorn.
Played in my intellectual development. In the 12th grade, it was in the final exam, I kind of flubbed a question, and then he written in the margin, "I'm disappointed." He wasn't trying to teach us facts. He was actually trying to teach us a learning process. Learning whether you understand something or not was probably the most important thing I began to learn in his class. That lesson I took with me not only through college and graduate school, but for my entire career as a physicist. I'm Stephen Chu. I'm the U.S. Secretary of Energy. We need a new generation of teachers to join those already in the classroom. Invest in the future. Inspire a generation of children. Teach. When I got the Nobel Prize, I was asked to write an autobiography of...
When I was younger, I wasn't the cool kid, and he'd take me in and give me coffee, Jelly Bellies. He was more than just a music teacher. He was kind of a life coach as well. I would definitely say teachers are heroes. Teachers are my heroes, and I want to be a hero as a teacher. I still remember teaching my younger sister, who's 5 years younger than me. I would sit her down and then sit like 5 stuffed animals, and then have a chalkboard, and I'd be like, look, 2 + 3 equals... And she'd be bored out of her mind, but I was having the time of my life. If I were to be a teacher, I think I'd be fun, honestly, because I think learning should never be boring. And if you're passionate about a subject, there's no doubt that the kids will follow. They'll be like, there's something there in that teacher, what is it? And then they'll seek after it too. People who want to be teachers, I would tell them, don't be scared of the low salary or whatever, having to deal with parents. If you love it, you got to do it. And there's nothing else that you can ask for than to do what you love.
We are back live here at the White House Initiative on AAPI's Roundtable on Teaching. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left in this conversation. We have a few questions we'll hit, and then we'll close the event. So first comment over here.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. Well, when I was younger, whatever I wanted to do in my life later on, I knew I wanted to help people and I wanted to change the world. And by being a teacher, it's not going to be like a huge impact, like finding a cure for cancer, but it's the small things that really count. And I'm the oldest in my family, so I have 2 younger brothers, and I'm at least 4 years older than the older one. So when I was younger, I would tie them up and say, "Okay, we're playing school now." And sometimes they would, and sometimes they would like try to run away. But then later on, at the end of the day, they're like, "Hey, let's play school again." And after that, I grew older, and I said, "I'm going to go to Harvard, and I'm going to be a lawyer," because that was the path a lot of kids my age wanted to take. But now, now that I'm older and I'm at the stage where I can think for myself, I'm trying to rethink my path in life, and I don't know if I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or something, but being a teacher right now, it seems pretty fun.
Yeah. And I would just tell you that it is like curing cancer.
Actually,
it is. You will hit almost more the patients than a doctor may ever see. You know, you have a class of 28 kids, and not only will they maybe find the cure for cancer because of something you've taught them, but I mean, you're talking about, and especially, I want to encourage all of you to teach in specifically underserved communities, you know, autistic children with autism, students in urban districts that really are severely underfunded. I taught in the Bronx, and these are students who really need excellent teachers, and when you talk about the big impact you're making, I mean, I would say I agree with everything except for I think that you make a huge impact in the classroom.
Yeah, and think about how many kids are rolling through your classroom year after year, and you're impacting a year of their lives. So I think that it's pretty on par with curing cancer.
Agreed.
You're infecting a lot of people.
One more question.
My name is Hannah. Hi. I'm a senior now, and I've already turned in all my applications, and I put undecided for all of them because, you know, I've wanted to be a teacher ever since I was little, but I'm still unsure. So like my brother has told me, oh, just go straight into teaching, don't waste your time, you know. But other people have told me, oh, like explore and make sure that you want to be a teacher. So if you have any advice for me, because I don't know what to do.
How set are you on like I want to teach?
99.
Okay. How set are you on what you want to teach?
That's another thing too. Maybe I think I would start with elementary school because I'm not particularly, you know, good at certain subject. It's just all around.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, this is my blanket, not that helpful advice, but I would say, I'm going to give it anyway, which is that, you know, when you're in college, all of you, when you go to college, it is the best time to take the randomest classes and change your major. And the great thing about being a teacher is any major, we need teachers of every subject. So if you're a chemistry major, or if you're a music major, or if you're a whatever major, you can become a teacher in any variety of subjects. The best thing I ever did was allow myself, you know, it sort of raised some eyebrows to do a double major in music and government in my family, and it was the best thing I could do because I realized, honestly, I wasn't meant to be a musician all the time, but I would never have known that and lived a lifetime of wondering of that if I hadn't explored that. So don't stress. I mean, you're 18 now? Yeah. Yeah, you have a long time where you have to like decide, but don't stop yourself from learning anything. Is what I would say.
Like you don't have to waste time, as your brother said, or whoever it was said, because you can volunteer. Like I volunteered at Castle Bay Elementary, like for an hour, just working with like their kindergarten kids to see if I wanted to do that. Like just do it. You don't have to like spend a quarter or a semester on a class to figure out if it's what you want to do or not. You know.
So we're going to begin sort of our wrap up, and maybe just if we can go across the table and you know, make some final you know, comments about today and sort of what we kind of want them to take away from this afternoon. I'll start if that's okay, and we'll just kind of go this way. I actually work in higher ed, and it's been a powerful thing for me. Like I said, I've taught at UCLA and at Cal State Fullerton, and the classroom there is also equally amazing. I work in student affairs. It's a great profession, and I'd love to talk to you more about that afterwards. Eventually, you're going to go to college to become a teacher, and then you'll meet people like me, and I'll inspire the stuff out of you to return to your community and make that change. So I kind of want to also put that out there, that you can also teach at that level as well.
I guess for all of you guys, especially the ones that want to become teachers, I think you guys are also going to become mentors. It's like another word, I think, that you can tie in with that. I'm actually a part of a group called YPG, which is like a nonprofit that has like a mentorship program. And I just got into it because I think it's important, like I said before, to pass down knowledge and to also inspire and educate people so that they can, be effective in their lives. So I also want to tell you guys to be passionate about what you do, because that's the most important thing. If you're not happy with your profession, then it's gonna suck. So be happy and do what you love, because that's really what matters on this earth.
I would say that the do what you love and make the world better theme is going to continue with me. And I think that's sort of what drives all of us. If you do decide to become a teacher, I think it's pretty cliche. You hear it, change the world, become a teacher. But the reason it's cliche is because it is so meaningful. And I think that maybe just because I'm a little older than them, I've had some jobs that are not as meaningful, and I've had some jobs where I'm sitting by myself at a desk all day, and it's just not as fun. Loving what you do and getting to have fun all day is so awesome, and that's what I was able to do as a teacher. And whatever you do, do what it is that you love and figure it out, and take the time when you're in school to figure that out, because there are things that I didn't even think about when I was in high school that I learned about in college, and that's, I would say, the most important thing.
Yeah. You have the flexibility in college to pick up and go somewhere and see if that's for you. That's when you have that flexibility. Not when you have a full-time job, not when you're like married, not when you have kids. So it's your time. This is your hour to go figure out what you want to do. And zero in on that and don't let that go. And if you're trying to be a teacher, I really want to see you do it. And I really want us, like teachers, because I'm a teacher, and I really want us to see a change in the way we view things. Like Caleb, you were talking about, how the teaching profession is not respected as much as it should be. Like, it starts with you, your perspective, as you walk out of the store, how you talk about your teachers and how you view them and the teaching society. It involves you getting into politics, like learning, understanding how this government's working, and it's all in your hands, and that's how it will work when you guys are done with college. That's how this world works. It's a cycle. It's what you leave on. Like, try to think of knowledge as a physical, tangible item. Like, what are you going to leave when you leave this earth or whatever? I'm starting to get all like weird. But my point is, I want to see you, if you're in here because you want to be a teacher, I want to see you teaching my kids. So that would be kind of my request to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me close up by saying that this conversation was sponsored by the Department of Education's Teach campaign, as well as the White House initiative on AAPI. You can learn more by going to aapi.gov and teach.gov. And this is not the beginning of the conversation, nor is it the end. This is just one more step to empower young people in the community to think about teaching, think about how you can make a lasting impact on the life of a child. And I think it's one of the most honorable, one of the most amazing things that you can do in the life of a child. And so I want to close by thanking first the Granada Hill Charter Hills High School for hosting us, and Dean Connie Dunn. And I also want to thank the tech crew for helping us with the audio, visuals, all that. And finally, I want to thank our wonderful, amazing panelists for being a part of this awesome conversation. Thank you all, and have a good evening.